Hello, and thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects so many people, often in the shadows: addiction. We're going to go on a little journey together to really understand it, to move past the judgment, and find a real path toward hope and healing. So here's what we've got lined up. First, we'll get to the bottom of what addiction really is and how it actually changes the brain. Then, we'll look at the heavy toll it takes on a person's life and on their family. But, and this is important, we're not just going to focus on the problem. We'll then explore a natural, holistic solution, map out what that recovery journey looks like, and end with a message of real, achievable hope. Okay, let's dive right in with the single most important idea we need to get our heads around. It's right here on the screen. Addiction is a disease. It's not a choice. It's not a moral failing. And you know what? That one little shift in how we see things, it changes everything. So what do we mean when we say it's a disease? Well, it really boils down to this: a loss of control. A substance, whether it's drugs or alcohol, it basically hijacks the brain's entire operating system. It makes itself the number one priority, pushing everything else, family, your job, your health, way down the list. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? If we can really let this idea sink in, it's a game changer. The second we start seeing addiction as a medical condition, we open the door for compassion, for real treatment, for support, instead of slamming it shut with shame and judgment. So let's get clear on the difference between just using something occasionally and a full-blown addiction. This chart lays it out perfectly. On the left, with occasional use, you're in the driver's seat. You have control. But on the right, with addiction, that control is just gone. The person might desperately want to stop. They might hate what it's doing to them, but they just can't. And that's when it starts to poison every part of their life. So why is it so incredibly hard to get that control back? I mean, why isn't it just a simple battle of willpower? Well, the answer is in the science. There are actual physical changes happening inside the brain that explain this immense struggle. This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How can some external substance become so powerful that the brain makes it priority number one? I mean, over family, over your career, even over your own survival? It all comes down to brain chemistry. It's like a four-step cycle that takes over. First, the substance unleashes this massive flood of dopamine, the happy chemical. This feeling, this super high, is way more intense than anything natural, like eating a good meal or laughing with friends. Over time, the brain's wiring literally changes to chase that high, and eventually you get to a point where the substance isn't even about getting high anymore. It's just about feeling normal. And the long-term damage from this brain rewiring, it's just devastating. As you can see, it hits the whole person. In the mind, it creates constant, overwhelming cravings. In the body, it can cause severe damage to vital organs. And in terms of behavior, it often leads to a pattern of secrecy and lying that just shatters the trust that holds relationships together. And that brings us to the wider impact. Because this disease, it never just affects one person in isolation. It sends out these ripple effects that touch absolutely everyone around them, especially the family. For families out there who are worried, this might be helpful. It lays out some of the common signs you might see, broken down into 3 areas. Physically, you might notice things like sudden weight loss or trouble sleeping. Behaviorally, big red flags are things like secrecy or sudden money problems. And then emotionally, a general loss of control. Constant irritation, anger, or anxiety. That can be a really key sign that something is wrong. This statement right here, it just captures the reality for so many people. Addiction is a family disease. It's like it becomes this unwanted guest living in the house, causing so much pain and confusion and exhaustion for absolutely everyone. The experience for the family is often just this constant cycle of stress and fear. Loved ones go through so much emotional trauma. Sometimes out of love or just desperation, they might accidentally enable the behavior. And on top of all of that, they often have to face social stigma and isolation. It is a really heavy and painful burden to carry. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the problem. Now, let's pivot and start talking about a path forward. A huge part of this is understanding why just telling someone to stop will never be enough and what actually can work. This is probably the most painful and frustrating question a family can ask. The damage is so obvious, so why does the person keep going? The answer, again, takes us right back to the brain. We're not dealing with a simple choice here. We are dealing with a brain that has been chemically rewired and is now dependent. So it makes sense, right? If the problem is a chemical imbalance, then the solution has to address that imbalance directly. And this is exactly where something called neurotherapy comes into the picture. It's a science-based therapy that works to correct those chemical problems in the brain, and it does it naturally, without adding even more drugs into the system. What's so brilliant about this approach is that it goes straight to the root cause. It helps rebalance those key chemicals like dopamine. And when that happens, the whole nervous system starts to calm down, the cravings get weaker, and the body gets the support it needs to get through that tough withdrawal phase. And it does all of this in a way that's totally safe and drug-free. This holistic way of thinking was pioneered by a really respected expert, Guruji Dr. Lajpat Rai Mehra. His whole philosophy was that you can't just treat one symptom in isolation. You have to bring the entire person back into balance, their mind, their body, and their energy. So what does this recovery journey actually look like in practice? Well, it's not a quick fix or a single event. It's a structured process that looks at every single part of a person's well-being. A truly comprehensive plan, like the one you see here, is a multi-step journey. It all starts with detoxification, just to cleanse the body. That's followed by neurotherapy sessions to start rebalancing the brain's chemistry. Then comes a critical step, counseling, to start healing the emotional pain that's often underneath it all. From there, it's all about building a new, healthy life, with lifestyle changes, getting the family involved as a support system, and finally, learning strategies to prevent a relapse. And all of this brings us to the most important message that I want you to hear today. There is hope. Recovery is not just some distant dream, it is absolutely possible. Now, it's so important to be realistic. Recovery is a journey, It's not an overnight change. It takes patience, it takes professional guidance, and it absolutely needs a strong support system. But with all of those things in place, a healthy, happy, fulfilling life isn't just possible, it's an achievable reality for so many people. So if there's one thought I can leave you with today, it's this one. Let's try to replace judgment with understanding. Let's start seeing addiction for what it truly is, a treatable disease. And let's never forget that hope is real and help is always available. If anything we've talked about today has resonated with you, maybe for yourself or maybe for someone you love, please know that you are not alone. Confidential, professional, and compassionate help is just one phone call away. You can reach out to Vishal Gupta and his team at Santulan Holistic Solutions at the number you see on your screen. Taking that first step is always the hardest, but I promise you, it's the one that can lead to a brand new beginning. Thank you so much for your time.